Good evening. I'm political editor Dennis Welch. This is Politics Unplugged. Arizona's new corrections chief has been heralded for modernizing the prison system in Maine. So will his ideas work in a much larger state? And here to talk about that is the corrections director, Ryan Thornell. Thank you very much for being here. And there's tons we could talk about. But I want to start off because you kind of you're hammering on a message right now this week. You want to be talking about fair chance policies. You're going to be attending or going to a symposium coming up and speaking with employers about second chance policies for former inmates, former convicted felons and whatnot. And I wanted to give you a chance to speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me first off, and thanks for the opportunity to talk about our partnership with Arouet Foundation and their Fair Chance Symposium. I will be attending that on October 5th, and really the importance of attending the symposium is it fits right in line with the work we're doing at the agency, which is trying to transform the individuals that are in our custody and make them better returning citizens. And in order to do that, we have to prepare them for release into the community. But on the receiving end, we have to have companies, partners, individuals who are willing to take them in, give them opportunities, which is what this Fair Chance Symposium is all about. So we're looking forward to attending. Yeah,
so let me push back a little bit about that. I mean, how does this help with, the question is, how does this help with public safety? You're taking some felons, some of them could be convicted of violent crimes. They're coming back into society, and you're telling employers, like, you should hire them. Why should their current employees feel safe if they're going to be working next to these folks? Some of them may have been committed again for very violent crimes.
Absolutely, but we have to look at public safety in a very broad sense. It's not just about law enforcement, it's not just about incarceration. If we're going to truly have a safer community, we need to give people opportunities to stay out in the community, be productive, and not return to prison. And in order to do that, we know that we need to educate them and we need to get them jobs, along with housing and other things. And so if we truly want public safety, that's the connections we need to make.
Well, what needs to happen too? I know you haven't been here very long. You've been here since basically the beginning of the year. But like looking, you're a few months away from a legislative session. What kind of help could you use when it comes to these types of fair chance policies, help from the legislature moving forward next year?
I think the thing that we can ask for in this coming session is really just, the opportunities to continue to educate, continue to inform of the work that we're doing and the partnerships. Myself, my agency, we're not pushing any specific public policy direction forward to the legislature. I understand there might be conversations around that, but really my goal is just to simply educate and inform people about the work that we're doing and why we're aiming to do that and how it contributes to public safety, because I think that message needs to get out first, and to know that we're a supporter of that and we're a partner in that, and then whatever policies might come about will unfold from there.
Yeah, and your former governor, Doug Ducey, had some programs to help former inmates transition back into society. From what you've been able to see, what kind of progress have they made, and what more changes need to be done in that respect to help these people transition back into society?
Yeah, we have several second chance centers, which I think is what you're referencing under the last administration, and they're working well, and those are some of the centers of our partnership where we have people reaching in from the community, but we need to expand that, right? We know that in order to make a true difference in public safety and bring down our recidivism numbers, we need to reach some of what we would consider the higher risk, higher needs population that are inside our facilities as well, and make those connections. And so that's what I need to do a good job of educating and informing partners on. Because we have 34,000 individuals. Not all of them get a chance to get to those second chance centers, and that's really what we need to focus on.
Yeah, and kind of want to transition now from that. You brought up the 34,000 prisoners. I do have to ask you. You've moved from Maine to Arizona. Maine was a much smaller prison population there. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. 1,600, 2,600 inmates in total in the state of Maine. That's men and women. You're coming to a much bigger place. 34,000 inmates. What's been the biggest thing to learn coming over, transitioning from Maine to Arizona?
Yeah, I think number one, corrections is corrections. So the operations, the public service sense of it, the policies, all of that, very similar, just maybe a different scope. I think the biggest thing to learn that's different is the demographics of the population. Some of the things that contribute to incarceration here in Arizona are different than they were in the Northeast. And so understanding some of those policies, some of those drivers of incarceration, and we're certainly in a different part of the country. And so the political landscape is different. The importance of communication is different. But at the end of the day, again, corrections is corrections. It's really just about taking my leadership approach, my knowledge of the industry, and scaling it to a larger system.
How would you say your philosophy differs from your predecessor's philosophy in general, and how things, incarceration has been, corrections chiefs have operated their prisons for decades, for as long as I've covered Arizona. It's been kind of like just, be hard on prisoners and move forward. How does your philosophy differ, and what is that philosophy?
My philosophy differs because, I take the view that public safety is not just about incarceration. It's about what we put out back into the community through the release process. And if we're truly going to protect the public, while we have people housed with us, we need to be purpose-driven and give them opportunities to turn their life around. That's what I think the public expects of us, really, because then when somebody releases back into the community, the public should know that if they're their neighbor, they have the skills to go get a job. They have the skills to go where they need to go and take care of business as they need to. And I think that's where I differ from my predecessors, because that period of incarceration needs to mean something to that individual, and it needs to be something that the public sees as purposeful.
Yeah, and one thing, because you did clear the, the nominations committee, it's for those who have not been paying attention, it hasn't been an easy feat for the Governor Hobbs to get her nominees through that committee. It's not been a slam dunk. One of the things that you didn't differ with your predecessors on was on the death penalty, capital punishment. You said that you still support it, but I also got a sense that you're not the kind of person that's going to be advocating that this governor move forward with more types of executions. Is that right on my part, or where are you at on that?
So I came to Arizona knowing that Arizona has the death penalty, and as the director, if I need to carry out an execution, then I know I'm going to need to carry out an execution. There's a death penalty review commissioner conducting his review right now at the request of the governor, and we'll see what those results and recommendations show. And if the governor chooses to move forward with that as a policy, then she has me as her director, and she knows my position on it.
Okay, and one final question before I let you go, because I do get emails when corrections issues pop up. I get a lot of talk about private prisons. You've been on record saying that you support private prisons. Let me ask you this. I've heard criticisms of people who operate private prisons saying there's a moral, there's an ethical element to this, that these companies, their product is human incarceration. How do you support something like that? Because in a business, you want to grow the business, and if your business is human incarceration, you've got to grow that to make money. How can you support that?
So to me, it's not an issue whether you support or you don't support it. Right now, we have private prisons here in Arizona, and we need them. We need their bed space. We need their physical plant infrastructure, right? So for me, whether you're private or public, in my role as the director, I need to hold everybody to the same standard, the same level of accountability and the same level of performance, whether you're private or not. And so that's what we're working through right now. We have 7 private prisons, 3 partners that oversee them, and I'm taking the steps to hold them to the same standards I hold my public institutions to. And so to me, that's the difference, and that's what I need to bring as the corrections director to that relationship.
All right, and with that, thank you very much. As the director of Arizona Department of Corrections, Ryan Thornell, thank you very much for dropping by here today. And still ahead, Governor